Toughen your mind or the world will break it. That is not just a phrase, it's a warning. In today's world, pressure is constant. People will doubt you, problems will test you, and challenges will come whether you are ready or not. The only question is, will your mind be strong enough to handle it? If you don't build mental toughness, life will expose every weakness you leave unguarded. This is not about sounding tough, it's about becoming someone who can face setbacks without breaking. Someone who can take criticism without losing direction. Someone who can keep moving when everything in them wants to stop. Every person listening has felt moments of doubt, fear, and frustration. But those moments are also the exact opportunities to toughen your mind. In this videos, you're going to learn how to stop giving control to fear, how to silence doubt with action, and how to build a mindset that refuses to quit. Stay with me, because what you discover here can change the way you face every day of your life. Number 1, control what you think before thoughts control you. When you wake up in the morning, your mind is the very first thing that begins shaping the way you live your day. What you allow to enter, what you choose to focus on, and what you decide to repeat to yourself becomes the foundation of who you are becoming. That's why I say to you with seriousness, control what you think before your thoughts control you. Most people underestimate the power of this. They believe thoughts just come and go, harmless, passing like clouds. But that's not the truth. The reality is, thoughts leave an imprint. A negative thought repeated over and over can harden into self-doubt, into excuses, into hesitation. And a positive thought, when nurtured, can give you courage, clarity, and strength when life gets tough. The choice of which direction your mind goes in belongs to you. Think about your own life right now. How often do you stop to notice what you're thinking? How often do you pause and ask yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Most people don't ask that. They wake up and they go straight into worry, regret, or distraction. They carry old fears from yesterday into today and then wonder why nothing feels different. If you want to toughen your mind, you can't live on autopilot. You have to make your thinking something you manage every single day. The same way you manage your health, your money, or your time. A thought might seem invisible, but it's building your habits, shaping your confidence, and influencing every decision you make. For example, if you wake up and say to yourself, I can't handle this day, you'll move through the day already defeated. Your energy will be low, your choices will be weak, and you'll miss opportunities because your mind convinced you to. But if you wake up and decide, I will give my best today, you walk into the same day, the same problems, but with a completely different spirit. That small shift in thinking is the difference between a person who breaks under pressure and a person who grows stronger through pressure. Controlling your thoughts doesn't mean pretending that life is perfect. It means becoming aware when your mind is dragging you down the wrong road. It means stopping yourself when you start feeding self-doubt, envy, fear, or negativity. Picture a time when you felt like giving up. What kind of thoughts filled your head? Were they telling you it was hopeless or that you weren't good enough? And when you believed those thoughts, how did you act? You probably hesitated, maybe even quit. Now remember another time when you pushed yourself through something difficult. What were the thoughts then? Likely they were stronger, more determined. You told yourself you could figure it out. You told yourself to keep going. Those words gave you strength. That's proof that what you think in your mind has the power to lift you or destroy you. So the real question is this: how do you take charge of what you think? First, you must pay attention. Awareness is step 1. You can't fix what you won't face. Notice the tone of your thoughts. Notice the words you use on yourself. Are they harsh? Are they doubtful? Or are they firm, encouraging, and honest? Once you become aware, you have the power to replace. That's step 2. Replace the destructive thought with one that strengthens you. If your mind says, you'll fail, answer back with, I'm learning, I'm growing, I can improve. If your mind says, you're not ready, answer back with, every day I get better, I am preparing. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing thoughts that create progress instead of paralysis. And then the third step is to repeat. Repetition builds belief. If you only fight back once and then let the old thought win tomorrow, nothing changes. But if you consistently reinforce stronger, wiser thoughts, they start to become your natural way of thinking. That's when your mind toughens. That's when it stops controlling you and you begin controlling it. You see, there's a psychology behind this. The human brain tends to hold on to whatever we feed it the most. If you keep replaying old failures, your brain will store that as your truth. But if you keep feeding it determination, progress, and small victories, your brain begins to expect success. That expectation changes how you feel, and how you feel changes how you act. That's why some people, no matter the obstacle, always rise. They've trained their thoughts to move them forward instead of backward. Now, you might ask, how can you practice this in daily life? Start simple. When you catch yourself in negative thinking, pause. Don't rush past it. Name it for what it is: fear, doubt, insecurity. Then immediately replace it with something useful. For example, if you're about to give a presentation and your mind says, everyone will judge you, stop. Replace it with, I have prepared, I can deliver, I am improving. It sounds small, but that shift changes your body language, your confidence, your presence. You go from trembling to steady, from uncertain to composed. That's the power of controlled thinking. Another practice is setting your mental tone at the start of the day. Don't roll out of bed and scroll aimlessly or think about problems you can't solve yet. Take a few minutes to plant the right thoughts. Say to yourself, I will face what comes today with strength. I will focus on solutions. I will not give power to negativity. These words are not empty. They are instructions to your mind, and your mind will follow them if you keep giving them. Here's another truth. If you don't learn to guide your thoughts, the world will gladly do it for you. The news, social media, gossip, opinions of others. These things will flood your head with fear, anger, and distraction if you don't put up a guard. Toughening your mind means choosing carefully what you expose yourself to. Be selective about the voices you listen to, the people you spend time with, the content you consume, because all of it is shaping the way you think and therefore shaping who you become. Some people say, I can't help what I think. That's not true. You may not control the first thought that enters, but you always control whether it stays, whether it grows, and whether it guides your behavior. If a thief knocks on your door, do you let him move in? No. In the same way, you don't let a destructive thought build a home in your mind. You have the authority to shut the door. Think about the consequences of ignoring this. If you let your mind wander into weakness day after day, life will use that against you. A tough situation will break you because you trained yourself to think small, weak, and fearful. But if you build the habit of strong thinking, then even when life strikes, you bend without breaking. You stand firm because your inner voice is stronger than the outer pressure. There's also an emotional side to this. When you allow negativity to dominate, you feel drained, anxious, and uncertain. But when you train your mind to choose strength, you feel steady, focused, and alive. You carry yourself differently. People notice. Opportunities come because strength attracts trust. Weak thinking repels progress, while strong thinking opens doors. You don't need to become perfect at this overnight. What you need is a daily commitment. Every single day, decide you will take responsibility for your thoughts. No excuses, no exceptions. Even if you slip, catch yourself and redirect. This is not just a practice, it's a way of life. A tough mind is not built in a week. It's built in the small battles you fight with your own thoughts each day. And I'll tell you this, once you taste the power of controlling your mind, you'll never go back. You'll realize that the strength you were chasing outside was already within you. You just had to stop letting your thoughts run wild. You had to claim ownership of them. And when you do, you gain something priceless: self-respect. Because nothing feels better than knowing you are in control of yourself. So remember, control what you think before your thoughts control you. Start today. Pay attention. Replace the weak with the strong. Repeat it until it becomes your nature. Protect your mind from outside noise. And prove to yourself each day that your thinking belongs to you, not to fear, not to doubt, not to anyone else. That is how you toughen your mind. That is how you prepare for a world that will test you, push you, and try to break you. With a tough mind, you will not only survive, you will rise. Now, the question you need to ask yourself is this: will you take charge of your thoughts starting today, or will you continue allowing them to take charge of you? The answer to that question decides how strong your future will be. Number 2, challenge yourself daily to expand your comfort zone. Every person reaches a point where life feels safe and predictable. You know your routine, you know your surroundings, and you know what to expect. That safety feels comfortable, but comfort is also the exact reason so many people stop growing. The truth is that real progress does not come from repeating what you already know. It comes when you challenge yourself daily to expand your comfort zone. If you don't do this, your world shrinks. Your opportunities become fewer. Your confidence gets weaker. That is why the people who rise, the people who grow, are those who make it a habit to step outside of what feels easy and familiar. Think about how you learned anything in your life. The first time you tried to ride a bike, you were shaky. The first time you spoke in front of people, you were nervous. The first time you started a new job, you didn't know what to expect. But every single time you went through that discomfort, you grew. The nervousness turned into calm. The shaking turned into balance. The fear turned into confidence. This is the process of expansion, and it never ends unless you decide to stop. And that decision has a cost. If you choose not to challenge yourself, life will challenge you in ways you are not prepared for. Challenging yourself daily does not mean you have to chase big, extreme goals overnight. It means doing something that stretches you just a little bit beyond where you were yesterday. For some, that might be speaking up in a meeting instead of staying silent. For others, it might be waking up earlier to take control of the day. For another, it could be finally learning a skill that has been avoided for too long. What matters is that you build the muscle of discomfort tolerance. Each time you do, your comfort zone grows. And once it grows, what once felt impossible becomes ordinary. There is a clear psychology behind this. The brain has a built-in mechanism to protect you from danger. It interprets new and uncertain situations as risky. That is why you feel fear or hesitation when trying something different. But here's the reality. Most of those situations are not dangerous. They are simply unfamiliar. Your brain mistakes the unfamiliar for unsafe. When you deliberately put yourself in new situations, you train your brain to see them as normal. That is how fear decreases. That is how confidence increases. You can't think your way into confidence. You earn it by action, by repetition, by challenging yourself until the new becomes natural. Ask yourself right now, what are the areas of your life where you've been avoiding discomfort? Is it conversations you don't want to have? Is it work you keep delaying because it feels hard? Is it taking a chance on an opportunity that feels uncertain? These are the exact areas where growth is waiting. But growth won't come by waiting for courage. Courage comes after you take the step, not before. People who wait until they feel ready end up waiting their whole lives. The ones who grow are the ones who act while feeling nervous, act while feeling unsure, act while not having all the answers. That's what builds resilience. When you challenge yourself daily, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself. You learn that you can survive discomfort. You realize that fear is not the end. It is only the beginning. And with each new challenge, your confidence expands. You begin to see yourself as capable, resourceful, and strong. That self-image is the foundation of success in every part of life. Without it, no matter how much knowledge or skill you have, you'll remain stuck. But with it, you become unstoppable because you know you can handle whatever comes. The comfort zone has a silent danger. It makes you believe you are safe, when in reality, you are getting weaker. If you never lift heavier weights, your muscles don't grow. If you never use your voice, your courage doesn't grow. If you never face resistance, your character doesn't grow. That is why so many people feel empty, even when their lives look easy. Their minds and spirits are starving for challenge. You do not get meaning from comfort. You get meaning from growth. You get pride when you do the thing you were afraid to do. Now consider this. Your comfort zone is not fixed. It expands or contracts based on your choices. Every day, you either step out and expand it, or you retreat and let it shrink. If you avoid a challenge today, it becomes harder tomorrow. The fear grows stronger. But if you face it today, it becomes smaller tomorrow. That's the pattern. That's why daily challenges matter. It's not about doing one brave act once in a while. It's about training your mind and body to face discomfort consistently. How do you put this into practice? Start by identifying small areas of resistance in your life. If you avoid speaking to strangers, make it a goal to start one conversation each day. If you hesitate to ask for help, practice asking one person this week. If you avoid physical activity, challenge yourself with a workout today. Each act may feel minor, but together they create a new version of you. A person who sees discomfort as normal. A person who can walk into the unknown with steady steps. There's another benefit to challenging yourself daily. You begin to separate yourself from the crowd. Most people run from discomfort. They hide from it. And in doing so, they limit their potential. But when you make a habit of stepping into challenge, you stand out. Opportunities come to you because you've proven you can handle them. Leaders notice. People trust you. You attract respect because you've built real strength. That's not something you can fake. It shows in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you respond to pressure. Expanding your comfort zone also changes how you handle failure. When you are used to challenges, you no longer see failure as the end. You see it as part of the process. You see it as feedback. You learn faster, adapt faster, and bounce back quicker than those who stay comfortable. That resilience becomes one of your greatest assets. Without it, you crumble at the first sign of difficulty. With it, you thrive where others quit. You may wonder if this constant pushing makes life exhausting. In truth, it does the opposite. Comfort without growth drains energy because it leaves you unfulfilled. Challenge with growth gives energy because it feeds your sense of purpose. When you do the hard thing, you feel alive. You feel proud. You feel in control. That energy carries into every part of your life, your work, your relationships, your health. That's why the habit of daily challenges is so powerful. Now think of a goal you deeply want. Whatever it is, better health, financial freedom, stronger confidence, it will require you to leave your comfort zone. There is no way around it. The comfort zone cannot deliver transformation. It can only deliver sameness. If you keep living where you feel safe, you'll keep repeating the same results. If you want different, you must do different. That is why today matters. Today is your chance to push your boundaries a little further. Not next week, not next month. Today. Imagine what happens after 1 year of daily challenges. Imagine the skills you will have built, the confidence you will carry, the opportunities you will have created. That transformation is available to you, but only if you commit. One step a day, one challenge at a time. It doesn't matter how small it seems. What matters is that you are expanding instead of shrinking. The world will test you whether you like it or not. Life will put obstacles in your path. If you have never practiced leaving your comfort zone, those tests will crush you. But if you have trained yourself to step into discomfort daily, you will face those tests with strength. You will not break under the pressure because you've built a mind and spirit that thrive in the unknown. So I say to you, challenge yourself daily to expand your comfort zone. Face what makes you nervous. Step into what feels uncertain. Do the thing you've been postponing. Each time you do, you gain strength. Each time you act, you take control. That is the way you grow. That is the way you toughen your mind. And that is the way you make sure the world will never break you. Number 3, stop letting emotions decide how you live today. When you let emotions run your life, you give away the steering wheel. One moment you feel motivated, the next moment you feel tired, and suddenly your whole day is shaped by moods instead of choices. That's no way to build a strong future. A tough mind is not controlled by every wave of feeling. A tough mind learns to separate action from emotion. Feelings are natural, but they should never be the deciding factor for how you live your day. If you allow them to lead, you'll live inconsistent, unpredictable, and weak. If you learn to guide them, you'll live steady, focused, and strong. Think about how many times you've said, "I don't feel like it." Those words are dangerous. They sound small, but they have stolen years of progress from people. You don't feel like working out. so you stay on the couch. You don't feel like studying, so you waste the evening. You don't feel like starting the project, so you put it off another week. And then you look back and realize that a pattern of emotion-led choices has robbed you of growth. The painful truth is this: your emotions will almost always push you toward what is easier, safer, and more comfortable. But growth demands the opposite. Human psychology shows us that emotions are tied to survival instincts. When you feel tired, your body signals rest. When you feel nervous, your body signals retreat. When you feel bored, your body seeks distraction. These instincts made sense in a world of physical danger, but in the modern world, they hold you back. You're not in danger when you feel nervous to speak in a meeting. You're not in danger when you feel tired, but need to finish your work. The feeling is real, but the decision you make afterward does not have to follow it. This is where self-control matters. The strongest people you admire are not the ones who never feel fear or doubt. They are the ones who act despite those feelings. They don't wait for motivation because they know motivation is unreliable. They build discipline, which is steady and dependable. And that discipline is born from one habit: refusing to let emotions dictate behavior. They wake up tired, but they still get to work. They feel fear, but they still step forward. They feel uncertain, but they still take the risk. That separation is what makes them strong. To live this way, you must practice awareness. Most people act on emotions without even realizing it. They feel irritated and lash out. They feel discouraged and quit. They feel excited and make reckless choices. Awareness means catching the emotion before it takes over. It means pausing for a moment and asking, what is the right action here? Not the easy one. That pause is the difference between being ruled by feelings and being ruled by wisdom. Imagine you're working on an important task and suddenly feel the urge to check your phone. The emotion is boredom or restlessness. If you obey it, you break focus and lose momentum. If you ignore it, you finish the work and feel proud. The difference between those two outcomes is a few seconds of awareness and choice. The same principle applies when you're angry. If you explode, you damage trust. If you breathe, think, and respond with control, you protect your relationships and your reputation. Again, it's the difference of a pause. You might say, but I can't control my emotions. That's true, you can't stop them from showing up. But you can control what happens next. You can control whether you feed them, act on them, or replace them. A thought sparks an emotion, and if you let that thought grow unchecked, the emotion becomes stronger. But if you challenge the thought, the emotion weakens. For example, if you think, I'm not good enough, you will feel discouraged. But if you replace that thought with, I am still learning and I can improve, the emotion changes. Thoughts feed emotions, and you are in charge of your thoughts. Start practicing by setting clear standards for yourself. Decide in advance how you will act, regardless of mood. Say to yourself, I will exercise 3 times a week, no matter how I feel. Or, I will study for an hour every day, whether I feel motivated or not. Then stick to it. Over time, you'll notice something powerful. Your emotions start following your actions. You might begin the workout tired, but 10 minutes in, you feel stronger. You might start studying bored, but soon you feel focused. Action changes emotion, not the other way around. That is why you must never wait for the right feeling before you move. Move first, and the feeling will adjust. There's also the matter of long-term identity. When you consistently act on feelings, you build the identity of a weak person. You reinforce the belief that you are at the mercy of moods. But when you act on principles instead of feelings, you build the identity of a strong person. You reinforce the belief that you are reliable, disciplined, and capable. That identity fuels more discipline. It becomes a cycle of strength. Every time you refuse to let an emotion decide for you, you add another brick to the foundation of a tough mind. Consider how this plays out in relationships. If you always act on emotion, your interactions will be unstable. You'll say things you regret when angry, withdraw when insecure, and overreact when afraid. But if you manage emotions, you create stability. You become someone who can be trusted because people know you don't lose yourself in moods. That steadiness is rare and it earns respect. In work, it earns leadership. In family, it earns love. In life, it earns peace. Another way to stop letting emotions control you is to strengthen your routines. A solid routine removes decision-making from the grip of feelings. If you know that every morning you read for 30 minutes, you don't debate whether you feel like it. If you know that every evening you review your goals, you don't wonder whether you're in the mood. The habit carries you when emotions resist. That's why successful people guard their routines carefully. They know it keeps them on track when moods try to pull them off course. You should also pay attention to your environment. The people and situations around you can trigger emotions that influence your actions. If you surround yourself with complainers, you'll feel negative and act less. If you surround yourself with doers, you'll feel inspired and act more. Environment is not everything, but it matters. A tough mind chooses wisely where to spend time and with whom, so emotions are less likely to be hijacked by negativity. The real test comes when life throws stress your way. Pressure at work, conflict at home, unexpected setbacks, these moments stir up strong emotions. If you've built the habit of acting on principle, you'll stay steady. You'll handle the stress without losing your judgment. But if you've been living at the mercy of moods, stress will crush you. You'll fall apart because you've never trained to separate feelings from decisions. That is why this practice is urgent. Life will test you whether you are ready or not. And the only way to be ready is to train now in daily choices, to act on standards instead of moods. Remember, emotions are not enemies. They are signals. They tell you something about your inner state, but they are not commands. You can listen to the signal without obeying it. You can acknowledge fear without retreating. You can acknowledge anger without exploding. You can acknowledge sadness without giving up. That ability to acknowledge but not obey is strength. And strength is what builds a tough mind. So if you want to create a life of consistency, discipline, and progress, stop letting emotions decide how you live today. Notice them, but don't hand them control. Choose your actions based on values, goals, and commitments, not moods. Do what is right, not what is easy in the moment. Over time, you will see yourself transform. You will feel steady where you once felt scattered. You will feel powerful where you once felt weak. And you will know, deep inside, that your life is led by choice, not by chance. That is the life of a strong mind, and it is within your reach starting today. Number 4, learn to sit with discomfort until it feels normal. Most people run the moment they feel uncomfortable. The instant something feels hard, awkward, painful, or uncertain, they look for a way out. But the people who develop strength and mental toughness are the ones who learn to stay. They sit with the discomfort, they face it, and they let it teach them. That's what builds resilience. That's what separates those who stay stuck from those who grow. If you want to build a mind that cannot be broken, you must train yourself to sit with discomfort until it feels normal. Look at your own life. Think of the moments you avoided because you didn't want to feel uneasy. You didn't speak up because you were afraid of rejection. You didn't push through the workout because the pain felt too much. You didn't start the project because the uncertainty felt overwhelming. Every one of those decisions might have saved you from temporary discomfort, but they also robbed you of long-term growth. Each time you ran, you trained your brain to believe that discomfort is something to escape. And every time you train yourself that way, you make it harder to handle life when it brings challenges you cannot escape. Discomfort shows up in many forms. It can be physical, like the burn in your muscles when you exercise, or the fatigue after a long day of focused work. It can be emotional, like the nervousness before speaking in public or the unease of telling the truth when it might upset someone. It can be mental, like the frustration of learning something new, or the strain of staying disciplined when your mind wants to wander. All of these are signals that you're stepping into a place where growth is possible. If you avoid them, you remain the same. If you stay, you expand your limits. Psychology tells us that humans adapt to what they experience repeatedly. The first time you expose yourself to something uncomfortable, your body and mind resist. But if you stay with it, you begin to adjust. The nerves quiet down. The pain feels manageable. The stress becomes tolerable. That's how discomfort turns into normal. Think of how cold water feels when you first step in. At first, your body screams to get out, but after a few minutes, you begin to adjust. The same principle applies to life's challenges. Stay long enough, and what once felt unbearable becomes something you can handle with calm. When you train yourself to sit with discomfort, you begin to remove the fear of it. Fear comes from avoidance. The longer you avoid something, the larger it grows in your mind. But when you face it and stay with it, you realize it's not as powerful as you thought. You realize you are stronger than the feeling. That realization is priceless. It builds confidence that no one can give you. You can only earn it by sitting with discomfort until it loses its grip. This habit also teaches patience. We live in a world that constantly pushes instant relief. Feel bad. Scroll your phone. Feel stressed. Eat junk food. Feel bored. Turn on entertainment. The problem is that these quick escapes only provide temporary comfort while leaving you weaker in the long run. Learning to sit with discomfort teaches you to delay relief. It shows you that you don't need to run from every difficult emotion. You can face it, hold it, and let it pass. This ability gives you control over your life instead of being controlled by cravings and impulses. Think about the people who achieve extraordinary success. They aren't necessarily narrowly talented or lucky. What sets them apart is their ability to endure. They can handle the long hours of practice, the setbacks, the criticism, the pressure. They don't run when it feels uncomfortable. They stay and keep going until it becomes natural. That's why they rise above others. It's not magic. It's the habit of staying where most people quit. So how do you practice sitting with discomfort? Start small. Choose one area where you usually retreat and decide to stay longer. If you normally quit your workout when it burns, do 2 more repetitions. If you usually avoid awkward conversations, choose one and face it calmly. If you struggle to focus because boredom creeps in, stay with your work 10 more minutes before giving in to distraction. These small acts train your mind to hold steady. When the feeling of discomfort rises, over time the tolerance grows, and what once felt impossible becomes part of your normal capacity. You will notice something powerful once you practice this consistently. Discomfort that once scared you begins to feel routine. The workout that once felt unbearable now feels like a warm-up. The conversation that once terrified you now feels manageable. The focus that once seemed impossible now feels like discipline. That transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen if you choose to stay instead of escape. This is how you rewire your brain to accept discomfort as a natural part of growth. This practice also changes how you see yourself. Every time you stay when you want to run, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you are capable of handling more than you thought. That proof builds self-respect, and self-respect is one of the most powerful fuels you can have. When you know deep inside that you don't run from difficulty, you carry yourself differently. You walk with confidence because you trust yourself to endure. That kind of strength is rare, and it sets you apart. Discomfort is also a teacher. It shows you where you need to grow. If you feel discomfort in public speaking, it means you need to practice communication. If you feel discomfort in discipline, it means you need to strengthen your consistency. If you feel discomfort in physical effort, it means your body is asking for better conditions. The areas that trigger discomfort are the exact areas you must face. They are not punishments. They are opportunities. But you can only take advantage of them if you stop running and start sitting with them. There will be moments where the discomfort feels overwhelming. In those times, remind yourself that the feeling is temporary. Emotions rise and fall. Pain fades, nerves settle. The only thing that remains is the result of whether you stayed or escaped. If you stay, you gain strength. If you escape, you reinforce weakness. That choice, repeated daily, builds either a tough mind or a fragile one. The world is not gentle. It will place you in uncomfortable situations, whether you choose them or not. If you haven't trained yourself to handle discomfort, those situations will break you. But if you've practiced sitting with discomfort until it feels normal, you'll face them with calm. You'll have the mental toughness to endure, to adapt, and to grow stronger through the challenge. That's why this habit is not optional. It's essential. So understand this. Discomfort is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Discomfort is the path to growth, the signal that you are moving beyond limits. Learn to sit with it, breathe through it, and accept it as part of the process. With practice, what was once hard becomes manageable. What was once unbearable becomes ordinary. And what once felt impossible becomes proof of how much stronger you've become. That is how you toughen your mind. That is how you make sure life cannot break you. Number 5. Decide fast and stop doubting. Every small decision. One of the greatest weaknesses that holds people back is indecision. Not because they lack ability or opportunity, but because they spend too much time hesitating over the smallest choices. They wait, they overthink, they doubt. And by the time they make up their mind, the chance has already passed. A tough mind doesn't waste energy in endless hesitation. A tough mind decides quickly and moves forward. That habit of fast and firm decision-making is what gives you progress, clarity, and confidence. If you want to build a life of strength, you must decide fast and stop doubting every small decision. Every day you are faced with countless decisions. Some are big. What career to choose, whether to move, whether to invest your money. Others are small. What time to wake up, whether to complete a task now or later, whether to stay focused or get distracted. People often think the small decisions don't matter, but they are wrong. It is the small decisions repeated over and over that create the direction of your life. Wasting 10 minutes here, postponing action there, hesitating over details. All of this shapes your results. Indecision drains your time and your energy. The longer you delay, the heavier it feels. And soon, even the smallest decision feels like a mountain. When you practice deciding quickly, you simplify your life. You reduce mental clutter. You create momentum. Think of the times when you've been stuck in hesitation. How did it feel? Tiring, frustrating, heavy. Now think of the times when you decided quickly and moved. How did that feel? Freeing, energizing, clear. The difference is enormous. Decision is energy. Indecision is exhaustion. People underestimate this, but it makes all the difference between a person who gets things done and a person who remains stuck. Doubt is a thief. It robs you of action. It convinces you that you need more time, more certainty, more perfection before moving. But the truth is, you don't need more time. You need more courage. You don't need perfection. You need progress. Most of the answers you're waiting for only come after you take the first step. You cannot think your way into clarity. You earn it by acting. That's why decisive people grow faster. They learn by doing, while others are still thinking about doing. Making fast decisions does not mean being reckless. It means recognizing that most daily choices do not need endless analysis. You already know what's right. You already know what moves you forward. But fear of being wrong holds you back. If you make the wrong choice, you can adjust. But if you make no choice, you stay stuck. Stagnation is far worse than a mistake. A mistake teaches you something. Indecision teaches you nothing. Psychology shows us that decision fatigue is real. The more choices you postpone, the more mentally drained you become. That's why successful people simplify their lives. They create routines, they remove unnecessary options, and they make decisions quickly. This frees their mental energy for the bigger matters. You can practice the same. Stop wasting 20 minutes choosing what to eat, what to wear, or when to start. Decide in 1 minute and move on. Train your brain to stop turning every small matter into a debate. Confidence is built through decisive action. When you trust yourself to decide, you strengthen self-belief. But when you constantly doubt, you weaken it. Every time you second guess, you send a message to yourself that you cannot be trusted. That message chips away at your confidence until you feel powerless even in simple situations. On the other hand, when you decide quickly and stand by it, you build trust with yourself. You prove that you are capable of making choices
and living with them. That is how self-respect grows. Look at leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers. What do they all have in common? Decisiveness. They act while others wait. They are willing to be wrong because they know they can adapt. They don't waste time doubting every step. That's why they move ahead, while the hesitant are still standing at the starting line. You don't need to be born with this quality. You can build it. It starts by committing to stop wasting time on small doubts. A practical way to build decisiveness is to give yourself a short time limit. For small decisions, allow yourself 1 minute. For bigger ones, give yourself but never let decisions drag endlessly. The longer you drag, the weaker you feel. The quicker you decide, the stronger you feel. Another method is to ask yourself, will this matter in a year? If not, decide immediately. Most of what you stress over today will not matter in the long run. Stop giving it so much weight. You may fear making mistakes, but mistakes are part of life. They are correctable. They are valuable. What is not correctable is wasting years in hesitation. A mistake today can be fixed tomorrow. Indecision today leaves you with nothing tomorrow. The world rewards action, not perfection. Those who move create opportunities. Those who wait are left with regret. Doubt often comes from comparing yourself to others. You wonder if your decision will measure up to their standards. But the truth is, no one is living your life except you. You must learn to choose for yourself and accept the outcome. The approval of others cannot give you peace. Only self-trust can. And self-trust grows every time you make a decision and move forward without endless second-guessing. Indecision also kills opportunities. Lols does not wait. The job offer will not stay open forever. The person you wanted to connect with will move on. The chance to start something new will pass. You don't always get a second chance. That's why you must act while the window is open. Waiting for the perfect moment is just another form of fear. The perfect moment is the one you decide to act in. The habit of fast decisions frees you from regret. Most regret does not come from wrong choices. It comes from no choices. People look back and wish they had tried, wish they had spoken, wish they had acted. They rarely regret trying and failing. They regret waiting and never knowing. If you want to live without regret, start deciding and moving. Even if it doesn't go as planned, you will respect yourself for having acted. This way of living is not easy at first. If you've spent years doubting every move, the habit is strong, but you can break it. Begin by noticing when you hesitate. Catch yourself in the act of overthinking. Then cut the hesitation short and decide. The first few times will feel uncomfortable, but with practice, it becomes natural. And soon, you will notice that your life feels lighter, faster, and more in your control. Decide fast and stop doubting every small decision. That simple rule can transform your life. It gives you energy, momentum, confidence, and feeling. It removes the weight of hesitation. It turns you into a person of action instead of a person of excuses. It separates you from the crowd because most people are trapped in doubt, and it ensures that you keep moving forward while others stand still. Life does not reward hesitation. It rewards those who decide, act, and learn. The more you practice, the stronger you become. The stronger you become, the more you can achieve. So take this seriously. Starting today, commit to being decisive. Stop wasting your time second guessing. Stop letting small doubts steal your future. Decide fast, act firmly, and trust yourself to handle the outcome. That is the path to a tough mind and a powerful life.
Number 6, silence negative voices in your head with action. Every person carries a voice inside their head that whispers doubts, exaggerates fears, and reminds them of past failures. That voice tells you you're not ready, you're not good enough, or you don't have what it takes. If you listen to it, it will control your choices and limit your future. You cannot argue with it forever, because words alone do not silence it. The only way to defeat that voice is with action. Action is louder than any doubt, stronger than any fear, and more convincing than any negative thought. When you move forward and act, you prove to yourself that those voices are wrong.
Think about the last time you wanted to try something new. Maybe it was starting a business, speaking up in public, or pushing your body to do something demanding. The moment you thought about it, the voice inside started its work. It said, "What if you fail?" You said, "What if you fail? What if you waste your time?" That voice does not speak the truth. It speaks fear. And the mistake most people make is trying to wait until the voice disappears before they act. But it never disappears on its own. It grows stronger the longer you delay. The moment you take action, however, it begins to weaken. Action creates evidence. The negative voice thrives on the absence of evidence. It says you cannot do it because you haven't done it yet. But once you act, even in a small way, you provide proof to yourself. If you run 1 mile, you silence the voice that says you cannot run. If you speak in one meeting, you silence the voice that says you can't talk in front of others. If you finish one task, you silence the voice that says you always quit. The mind cannot argue with results. This is why action is the most powerful tool for silencing negativity. When you hesitate and stay still, the voice gets louder. Inaction gives it space to expand. That's why you feel more doubt the longer you sit with a decision. But once you start moving, the volume drops. You've experienced this before. Remember a time you didn't feel like exercising, but you forced yourself to begin. 10 minutes later, the voice telling you not to do it was gone. Or think of a time you dreaded a conversation, but decided to have it anyway. The voice that warned you of disaster lost its power once the words left your mouth. Again, the principle is clear. Act first, and the voice weakens. The negative voice is not a sign that you are weak. It is part of being human. Everyone has it. The difference is that strong people do not let it decide for them. They veil the doubt. They hear the fear, but they move anyway. Weak people wait for the voice to vanish. And since it never does, they stay stuck. The habit you must build is not waiting. Hear the voice, acknowledge it, then prove it wrong by doing what it tells you not to do. It is important to understand that you cannot think your way into confidence. You build confidence by stacking actions that contradict the negative voice. Every completed action is like a brick in the foundation of self-belief. At first, the foundation is small and shaky, but with every action, it grows stronger until it can hold anything you place on it. That's how unshakable confidence is built, through actions that silence doubt. A common trap is trying to fight negative thoughts with more thoughts. You tell yourself, "I can do this," but the voice says, "No, you can't." Back and forth, the inner battle continues. Meanwhile, no progress is made. The quickest way to do that argument is to act. The moment you do something, the voice loses ground. You can tell yourself you're capable 100 times, but one action will convince you more than all those words. Start small if you must. Choose one area where the voice is loudest and take one action today to count. If it tells you you're lazy, clean your room or finish a piece of work. If it says you're not smart enough, read one chapter of a book or learn one new skill. If it says you'll never succeed, take one concrete step toward your goal. Each act is proof. Proof creates belief. Belief grows louder than the negative voice. Over time, you'll notice a shift. The voice doesn't disappear completely, but it no longer controls you. You've trained yourself to respond to it with movement instead of hesitation. You hear it, and instead of retreating, you lean into action. That shift is life-changing. It means doubt no longer stops you. Fear no longer paralyzes you. You act, you adjust, and you keep moving forward. That is how resilient people operate. This approach also protects you from regret. Most regret comes not from failure, but from inaction. People look back and say, "I should have tried," or "I should have started sooner." That regret exists because they listened to the negative voice and did nothing. But those who act rarely regret it, even if it doesn't go perfectly. They have proof they tried. They have lessons to carry forward. They have strength built from action. Regret cannot survive where actions. The discipline of silencing negative voices with action also spreads into every part of life. In health, it means exercising even when you don't feel like it. In work, it means tackling the hard task before distraction pulls you away. In relationships, it means having the tough conversations instead of avoiding them. Each time you move motive, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than doubt. That knowledge becomes part of your identity. And identity is what sustains long-term change. The world will always throw challenges at you. Pressure, criticism, uncertainty. These will feed the negative voice inside. If you don't train yourself to answer with action, those challenges will break you. But if you've built the habit of acting in the face of doubt, those same challenges will shape you into someone stronger. The Stoics will speak, but you will not listen. You will act, and in acting, you will rise above it. So remember this truth. The negative voice is only powerful when you stay still. The moment you take action, it loses its grip. Every step you take is proof that you are more powerful than your doubt. Every action builds a tougher mind, and the tougher your mind becomes, the less control those voices have over your life. Act now, act often, and act boldly. That is how you silence the voices in your head and replace them with strength.
Number 7. Build patience by waiting without anger or frustration. Patience is one of the most overlooked strengths a person can build. People think of strength as speed, intensity, or toughness. But real strength is also the ability to wait without falling apart inside. Most people grow restless when they don't get results quickly. They want immediate progress, immediate recognition, immediate rewards. And when those don't arrive, frustration and anger take over. That reaction destroys peace of mind, ruins relationships, and blinds you to the lessons you could learn along the way. If you want to build a mind that lasts, you must train yourself to wait without anger and without frustration. Look at how the world works today. Everything is built for speed. Information is instant. Deliveries arrive the same day. Messages reach across the world in seconds. Because of this, people expect the same speed in personal growth and life goals. But the truth is, the most meaningful things take time. Strength of character, mastery of a skill, financial stability, strong relationships, all of these require patience. Without it, you quit too early, or you damage the process with negative emotion. The ability to wait calmly is what separates those who succeed long-term from those who only get temporary results. Patience doesn't mean sitting around doing nothing. It means staying steady while continuing to do what's right, even when you don't see instant result. It means understanding that progress is happening even if you can't measure it yet. The seed under the soil doesn't show itself the day after planting. You water it, you care for it, and you wait. The waiting is not passive. It's active care without frustration. Life is the same. If you want to get stronger, richer, wiser, or more respected, you have to keep putting in the work without expecting immediate payoff. The problem comes when people tie their emotions to time. They say, it's been 1 month. Why am I not there yet? Or I've tried 3 times. Why isn't it working? That mindset builds frustration. Frustration then leads to anger. Anger clouds judgment, makes you quit early, or pushes you into shortcuts. And shortcuts always cost more in the end. Patience breaks this cycle. Patience is the decision to stay calm while the process unfolds. Patience is telling yourself, I'm doing the work. I will continue to do the work, and I will not let emotions ruin the journey. Psychology shows us that frustration tolerance is one of the most important traits for success. Children who learn to wait for rewards grow up with better self-control and better outcomes in life. Adults who can manage waiting without anger are more focused, more disciplined, and more capable of long-term achievement. This isn't theory. It's proven by the way people live. Goes around and you'll see the pattern.
Those who lose their temper at every delay often struggle to maintain consistency. Those who remain calm during setbacks keep moving and eventually arrive at their goals. Think about your own experience. How many times did you give up because the results didn't come fast enough? How many times did you let anger ruin a situation that only required patience? Maybe you walked away with a skill because the learning curve felt too slow. Maybe you damaged a relationship by reacting with frustration instead of waiting for understanding. Maybe you abandoned a plan because progress felt invisible. Each of those moments shows the cost of impatience. Now imagine if you had stayed calm, stayed focused, and waited. Where would you be today? Building patience is not easy, but it can be trained. Start by noticing your reactions when delays happen. Do you immediately feel tense, irritated, or angry? That awareness is the first step. Then remind yourself that impatience changes nothing about the situation. It only harms you. Waiting is part of life. You can either suffer through it with frustration or grow through it with calm. The choice is yours. Each time you choose calm, you strengthen your patience muscle. Another way to practice is to put yourself in situations where waiting is required and train yourself to remain composed. For example, instead of grabbing your phone when standing in line, use the moment to breathe and observe. Instead of rushing through a task, slow down and do it with focus. Instead of snapping at someone for being late, use the time to think, read, or plan. These small practices add up. Over time, you'll notice that situations that once triggered anger no longer disturb you. That's growth. That's patience becoming part of you. Patience also builds respect. People trust those who can remain calm under pressure. If you explode at delays or setbacks, others see you as unstable. But if you stay composed, they see you as reliable. That reliability is what makes you a leader, a partner, and a person others want to tow. No one is inspired by someone who loses control at every inconvenience. Everyone respects the person who remains steady when things don't go as planned. Anger is often the mask of fear. People grow angry when they feel out of control. But the truth is, you can't control time. You can't control every outcome. You can only control your effort and your attitude. When you accept this, you stop wasting energy on frustration. You focus on what you can do, and you release what you cannot. That shift alone can change your entire life. You'll no longer be exhausted, fighting what you cannot change. Instead, you'll put that energy into progress. Impatience also blinds you to progress that is already happening. When you're obsessed with fast results, you overlook small improvement. You miss the signs of growth because you are angry about what hasn't happened yet. Patience opens your eyes. It allows you to notice the small wins, the tiny steps forward, and the progress you would otherwise ignore. This keeps you motivated and gives you confidence to continue. To build true patience, you must also separate time from value. Just because something takes longer does not mean it is worthless. In fact, the most valuable things often take the longest. If you understand this, you stop rushing the process. You give things the time they deserve. You treat effort and time as investments, not as inconveniences. That perspective removes anger and replaces it with purpose. Life will never remove waiting. You will always face delays, setbacks, and challenges that take longer than you want. You cannot escape this reality. The only question is how you will handle it. Will you waste energy in anger and frustration? Or will you build patience and grow stronger? If you choose patience, you gain peace of mind, stronger results, and deeper self-respect. If you choose impatience, you gain nothing but stress and regret. So build patience by waiting without anger or frustration. Train yourself daily to stay calm when things don't move at your pace. Learn to breathe through delays. Learn to use waiting as time for growth instead of time for anger. Learn to see patience as weakness, but as strength. The world belongs to those who can endure the process without losing control. Be one of them. Build patience now, and you will carry a power that nothing can take from you. Number 8, refuse shortcuts and commit fully to long, hard work. The temptation to take shortcuts is everywhere. People want the fast way, the easy path, the instant result. But shortcuts never give you lasting strength. They rob you of the discipline, wisdom, and character that only come through long, hard work. If you want real success, if you want a mind that can't be broken, you must refuse shortcuts and commit fully to the long process of steady effort. That decision will separate you from the majority who waste years chasing quick fixes that never last. Think about where shortcuts lead. Someone looks for the fastest way to earn money without learning real skills, and they end up broke again because they never built a foundation. Someone looks for the easiest way to get fit, and they bounce from fad to fad without ever building lasting health. Someone looks for the fastest way to learn, and they skip the hard practice that creates mastery. In every case, the shortcut backfires. It gives the illusion of progress without the substance of growth. Long, hard work is the only thing that builds something solid. The reason people avoid the long path is because it demands patience, consistency, and effort day after day. It doesn't give instant gratification. It asks you to show up even when it's boring, even when it's painful, even when no one is watching. That's why most people won't commit. But the very struggle they avoid is the same struggle that builds strength. If you don't endure it, you stay weak. If you embrace it, you grow beyond what you imagined possible. Long work develops qualities shortcuts never can. When you stick to something over time, you build resilience. You build the ability to keep going when it's not fun. You build self-respect because you know you didn't quit when it was hard. These qualities are invisible to others at first, but they shape the way you think, the way you carry yourself, and the way you handle challenges. Shortcuts can never give you that. They might give you a temporary win, but they leave you fragile. One obstacle appears, and you collapse because you never built the foundation. Think about the areas in your life where you have taken the long route. Maybe you worked for years at a skill, and now it feels natural. Maybe you trained your body consistently, and now strength is part of you. Maybe you studied and practiced until knowledge became second nature. How does that feel? Solid, unshakable. That's the reward of long work. No one can take it from you. You didn't rent it. You earned it. Contrast that with shortcuts you may have taken. They gave a moment of relief, but left you empty. Which one matters more in the long run? Committing fully to hard work also changes your identity. When you consistently refuse shortcuts, you see yourself as someone dependable, disciplined, and strong. That identity becomes a shield against weakness. You no longer chase temporary wins because you respect yourself too much. You know the long path is the real path, and each day you walk it, you confirm that identity. That's how a tough mind is built. Not in one dramatic act, but in the decision repeated daily to stay on the path when others are leaving. Psychology shows us that habits formed through true effort reshape the brain. The more you do something, the stronger the neural pathways become. Shortcuts interrupt this process. They skip the repetition, and therefore they skip the rewiring. That's why people who rely on shortcuts always have to start over. They never train their brain to endure. But if you put in the work consistently, your brain adapts. What was once difficult becomes automatic. The long path transforms you, not just on the outside, but in the very way your mind operates. You may think that refusing shortcuts means slower progress, but in reality it creates faster growth in the long term. Shortcuts set you back because you end up redoing the work you tried to avoid. But steady effort compounds. Each day builds on the last. Over time, the growth is exponential. What looked like the slow way becomes the fastest way, because it actually lasts. People who commit to hard work surpass those who tried to cheat the process. They build a life that keeps growing instead of collapsing. Consider your daily choice. Do you cut corners in your work, or do you give full effort? Do you look for quick results in your health, or do you stay committed to consistent training? Do you search for instant knowledge, or do you study and practice until it's ingrained? These small decisions add. Every shortcut taken weakens your foundation. Every commitment to hard work strengthens it. The person you become is shaped by these choices. Refusing shortcuts also builds credibility with others. People can see when someone has paid the price. They respect the one who put in years of work, because the results are authentic. No one respects the one who cheated their way there. Even if they gain attention for a while, it doesn't last. True respect comes from endurance, from commitment, from effort that stands the test of time. And that respect creates opportunity shortcuts never end. There will be times when the long road feels endless, times when you wonder if the effort is worth it. In those moments, remind yourself that quitting will not make the path shorter. It will only make you start over. Staying on the road, step by step, guarantees progress. Every small action is you forward even if you don't see it immediately. The process may be invisible, but it is real, and one day, the results will be undeniable. To live this way, you must shift your mindset from craving speed to valuing endurance. Success is not about how quickly you can arrive. It is about how strong you are when you get there, and how long you can sustain it. That strength only comes from long, hard work. When you embrace this truth, you free yourself from the trap of shortcuts. You stop being impatient. You stop comparing your pace to others. You focus on your own steady effort, knowing it is building something that will last. So make a decision today. Refuse shortcuts. Stop looking for the easy way. Commit fully to the hard path. The long road, the daily effort. Each hour of discipline adds strength to your character. Each day of effort adds another layer to your foundation. Each year of commitment builds a life that cannot be shaken. This is not the glamorous path, but it is the only one that creates true success. It is the Hess that turns ordinary people into strong, capable, and respected individuals. The world is full of people who tried to cut corners and ended up with nothing. Don't be one of them. Be the one who stayed, who worked, who endured. In the end, you will stand on ground that no shortcut could ever give you. That is the reward of long, hard work. That is the mark of a tough mind. Number 9. Stay calm when people test your limits every day. Every single day, you will meet people who push your patience, question your choices, or try to get under your skin. It could be someone at work who constantly criticizes, someone at home who complains, or even strangers who treat you with disrespect. These situations are guaranteed. You cannot control how people behave, but you can control how you respond. And the strongest response is calm. When you stay calm while others test your limits, you protect your peace, you maintain your self-respect, and you show that your emotions belong to you, not to them. Think about how most people react when pushed. They explode, they shout, argue, or let anger take over, and afterward, they regret it. They replay the words they said in anger and wish they had kept control. They may even damage relationships or lose opportunities simply because they couldn't remain composed. But when you choose calm, the outcome changes. You hold on to your power. You don't let another person's behavior dictate your mood. That is a sign of maturity, and it builds a mind that others cannot easily shake. The truth is, people who test your limits often want a reaction. Some do it out of habit, others out of insecurity, and some just want to pull you down to their level. When you respond with anger, you give them exactly what they want. You show them they can control you. But when you stay calm, you show them you cannot be moved so easily. That calmness is not weakness. It is strength. It proves that your self-control is stronger than their attempts to provoke you. Remaining calm also helps you see situations clearly. Anger clouds judgment. Frustration narrows your thinking. But calm allows you to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. You can choose the right words, take the right actions, and protect your dignity. In every conflict, the calmer person has the advantage. They can think while the other person is losing control. That is why staying calm is not just about emotions. It is a strategy for life. This does not mean you allow people to walk over you. Calm is not the same as passive. Calm means you deal with the situation without letting emotions drag you into chaos. You can set boundaries firmly while remaining composed. You can say no without shouting. You can defend yourself without losing your peace. In fact, people take you more seriously when your voice is steady. Anger makes you look out of control. Calm makes you look confident. There is also a psychological truth here. The way people treat you often reflects their own struggles. A rude person is usually carrying frustration from elsewhere. An impatient person is often fighting inner battles. If you take their behavior personally, you let their issues become yours. But when you recognize that their actions come from their own state of mind, it becomes easier to stay calm. You realize it's not about you, it's about them, and you refuse to carry their burden on your shoulders. Staying calm requires training. It doesn't happen. You must build the habit of pausing before reacting. When someone tests your limits, the natural urge is to strike back. Instead, take a breath. Give yourself a few seconds. In those seconds, remind yourself, I choose control. I choose peace. That pause is enough to prevent an emotional explosion. Over time, this pause becomes natural, and your calmness grows stronger. Think of the power this gives you. Imagine being the person who remains steady when everyone else loses their temper. Imagine being the one who can handle criticism without breaking, insults without lashing out, and pressure without folding. People notice that. They respect it, even if they don't admit it. They may push harder at first, but when they see you will not be shaken, they stop wasting their energy. Your calmness trains others how to treat you. There is also a personal reward. When you remain calm, you protect your own well-being. Anger and frustration are exhausting. They raise stress, drain energy, and damage health. Calm keeps you steady. It allows you to save energy for what truly matters. It keeps your mind clear and your body strong. This is not just about handling others. It's about protecting your own life from the damage of uncontrolled emotions. One practical way to strengthen this is to reflect on your trigger. What situations or people tend to test your limits the most? Identify them. Once you know your triggers, you can prepare for them. Instead of being caught off guard, you walk in ready to stay composed. You remind yourself in advance, this person may push me, but I will not give them control. Preparation is the key to calmness under pressure. You must also remember that calmness is not silence forever. Sometimes staying calm means addressing the issue with strength at the right moment. But you do it on your terms, not in the heat of emotion. You wait until your mind is clear, then you respond with firmness and clarity. This approach resolves conflicts better than any emotional outburst. It builds respect because people see that you don't lose yourself, even when tested. The world is full of tests. Every day, someone or something will try to steal your peace. Traffic, delays, arguments, criticism. These are part of life. But how you respond defines your character. If you give your peace away every time, you live at the mercy of others. If you keep your calm, you live with strength. You carry an inner stability that nothing outside can easily break. So commit to this discipline. Stay calm when people test your limits every day. Protect your peace as if it is the most valuable thing you own. Speak with control, act with wisdom, and refuse to let anyone dictate your emotions. With each your calmness will grow stronger. And over time, you will build a mind so steady that no insult, no criticism, and no conflict can break it. That is the mark of true strength. And it is within your reach starting now. Number 10, prove your strength daily by doing what scares you. Fear shows up in everyone's life. It appears when you step into something new, when you face uncertainty, or when you stand in front of others. Fear is the feeling that tells you to stay safe, to stay small, to stay where you are. But here's the truth. Fear is also the exact signal that points to your growth. If you avoid what scares you, you avoid becoming stronger. If you face it, you prove your strength. That's why the best way to toughen your mind is to prove it daily, by doing the very things that make you nervous or uncomfortable. Fear convinces many people to live only inside the boundaries of what feels safe. They take the easy path at work because it doesn't require standing out. They stay silent in conversations because speaking up feels risky. They turn down opportunities because the uncertainty seems overwhelming. On the surface, this looks like safety, but in reality, it's weakness. Each time you avoid what scares you, you send a message to yourself that fear is stronger than you. That message eats away at your confidence until you no longer trust yourself to face even small challenges. When you decide to do what scares you, even in small doses, everything changes. You prove to yourself that fear is just a feeling, not a command. You show yourself that you can take action, even when your heart is pounding. And every time you take that step, you grow. You walk away a little braver, a little more resilient, and a lot more confident. This is how true inner strength is built, not by avoiding fear, but by using it as a daily test of your courage. Think of the moments in your life when you faced something you feared and came out stronger. Maybe it was making a difficult phone call, taking on a responsibility that felt overwhelming, or trying something for the first time. You likely felt nervous before, but after doing it, the fear lost its power. That's the lesson. The only way to shrink fear is to face it. The longer you avoid it, the larger it grows. The more often you confront it, the smaller it becomes. Doing what scares you daily does not mean chasing extreme danger. It means identifying the small, everyday actions that make you hesitate, and doing them anyway. Fear shows up in ordinary moments. It's the hesitation to start a new skill because you might fail. It's the resistance to ask for help because you might look weak. It's the nervousness about sharing your opinion because someone might disagree. These are not life or death fears, but they shape your life in powerful ways. If you face them daily, you train yourself to live boldly instead of timidly. The psychology behind this is simple. Fear triggers the body's survival response. Your mind tells you to retreat because it associates uncertainty with danger. But most modern fears are not actual threats. They are emotional discomforts. When you act despite that discomfort, your brain learns a new lesson. Uncertainty is not death. It's growth. With repetition, your tolerance increases. What once terrified you becomes normal. That is how a tough mind is created, through deliberate exposure to the very things you once ran from. You might wonder, what if I fail when I face my fear? The answer is, you will fail sometime. But failure in the face of fear is not weakness. It's strength. Because even in failure, you proved you were willing to step forward. That act alone builds courage. And often the failure is not as bad as you imagined. The fear before the action is always bigger than the reality after. When you face it, you realize you can handle far more than you thought. To practice this daily, make fear your guide. Pay attention to the moments when you hesitate or feel resistance. That hesitation is your map. If speaking up makes you nervous, that's where you should practice. If trying something new fills you with doubt, that's where you should step in. Each day, choose at least one action that makes you uncomfortable and do it. Over time, these small daily victories add up to a life of unshakable strength. The reward of this practice is not just courage, it's freedom. Fear is a cage. It keeps people trapped in jobs they hate, relationships that don't serve them, and lives far smaller than they are capable of living. When you face fear daily, the cage opens. You begin to see that most of the limits in your life were never real. They were built by hesitation, avoidance, by listening to the negative voice in your head. Once you break that pattern, your world expands. Facing fear also builds respect. People admire those who step into the things others run from. When you show courage, even in small ways, you inspire others. You show them that fear can be managed, that strength can be built, that action is possible even when it's uncomfortable. This influence is powerful. It doesn't just change your life. It impacts everyone who watches you live with courage. One of the greatest benefits of doing what scares you daily is the deep self-respect it builds. Every time you act despite fear, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. You show yourself that you will not abandon your growth. That trust is priceless. It means that when challenges come, you know you can count on yourself to face them. That self-trust creates confidence that no one can take away from you. The world will always give you reasons to be afraid. Criticism, rejection, uncertainty, failure. All of these are part of life. But if you trained yourself to face fear daily, none of these can break you. You've built the habit of moving forward anyway, and that habit is what keeps you growing. While others remain, fear will always knock on your door. The question is, will you open the door and walk through it? Or will you keep hiding inside? So here's the challenge. Prove your strength daily by doing what scares you. Not once in a while, not when you feel ready, but take the phone call you've been avoiding. Share your opinion in the meeting. Try the workout that intimidates you. Say yes to the opportunity that feels uncertain. Each action will make you stronger. Each action will shrink fear's power over your life. And each action will bring you closer to the person you are capable of becoming. Strength is not built by avoiding fear. It is built by confronting it again and again. The proof of your strength is not in what you say, it's in what you do when you feel afraid. So step into the discomfort, face the nerves, and take the action anyway. That is how you build a tough mind. That is how you create a life that cannot be broken by fear. You've heard it today. Toughen your mind or the world will break it. That choice is in front of you every single day. You can keep giving in to fear, doubt, and weakness, or you can start building the discipline and strength that no one can take from you. The world is not slowing down, and challenges will not stop. But you can grow tougher, stronger, and more prepared than ever before. If this message spoke to you, don't just stop here. Come back, because every video on this channel is designed to push you further, to build the habits and mindset that keep you unshakable. Subscribe, stay connected, and use these lessons daily. Remember this: the stronger your mind becomes, the freer your life will be. Make the decision today, toughen your mind, and you'll never let the world break you.